Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm Carla with Raised to Walk, and this is an announcement video for an unexpected journal, the Saints and Sanctuary issue. But before we get started, a little bit about this channel. Here we share good thoughts about good words, and on Fridays I host a live Bible study on Instagram at Raised to Walk, and then I publish 2 videos a week. I publish a replay of that Bible study as well as a video about books. So if you're interested in either of those things, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you can get updates about new videos. So, an unexpected journal, I have quite a few videos on this. If you have never watched a video about it before, I actually work on an unexpected journal, which is a quarterly publication dedicated to cultural apologetics. So every 3 months we publish a new issue and it's on a different topic. And this issue's topic is on saints and sanctuaries. So what is a saint? Now, the general definition of a saint is a person acknowledged as holy or virtuous and typically regarded as being in heaven after death. Catholics will have people who have actually been canonized as saints, as someone who they are certain is in heaven, and one of the requirements for canonization is that there's evidence of at least 2 miracles, and I can't remember the other thing. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, there's a whole process before you're determined to be a saint in the Catholic Church. Protestants, we look at it a little bit differently, and we get a little bit uncomfortable about what we see of as Catholics praying to saints. We think that's a little weird. We're not going to get into that today, and we don't get into that in the issue about the differences in how Catholics and Protestants see saints. What we focus on in the issue is about the people who have been Christians, who have stood for their faith, and people that we want to celebrate and remember. You can think about it as those people that are part of the great cloud of witnesses in Hebrews chapter 12. Now on to the second question. So what is a sanctuary? Now, the definition of a sanctuary is a place of refuge or a holy place, temple, or a church. Now, in the Old Testament, we see examples of each of those definitions because they're a little bit different, right? So in ancient Israel, God gave the Israelites instructions to have 6 places of refuge in the nation of Israel. And if someone killed another person, they could go to that city of refuge until they were able to be seen, by a priest and had their case judged. And if they were found to have killed the person unintentionally, which what we would consider manslaughter, they were to go back to that city of refuge, and they had to stay there and live there until the high priest that had been in place during the time of their trial died. And then after that, they could leave. If they left the city of refuge at any time before that, then the family of the person who had been killed could kill that person without any consequences. So basically, it was a place of safety and a place where you could have protection from the consequences of your actions, right? So that's a little bit about what that was in terms of a sanctuary city or a city of refuge. Now, the other thing that we see in the Old Testament is a sanctuary as a place where God's presence dwelled. And before the cross, that was seen as wherever the Ark of the Covenant was, right? That was the most holy place. Ark of the Covenant was kept in the Holy of Holies in the temple in Jerusalem, and there were 2 temples. There was the first temple that was destroyed, and then the second temple that was rebuilt and standing when Jesus was alive. That was destroyed in 70 AD. But besides that, Judaism considers that there were a total of 6 sanctuaries, and as I was researching this, I found that interesting because there were a few of them that I don't think as Christians we even consider at all. But those total of the 6 were the Wilderness Tabernacle, the Tabernacle at Shiloh, the Tabernacle at Nob, and the Tabernacle at Gibeon, in addition to the first and second temple. And I'm not going to get into it, but I just think that's a little bit interesting because some of those places, I don't think they were really like ordained by God. So they were kind of doing their own thing, I think. So that may be a topic for discussion some other time. But regardless, we understand a sanctuary as a place of safety, a place of peace, and a place of rest. And it is those things because God's presence is there and he brings peace. It's shalom. It's the wholeness, right? The wholeness, the peace, the rest, the safety. But now, rather than being focused in a building, when we are in Christ, when we've made him the Lord of our lives, the Holy Spirit is dwelling in us rather than in a building. And Paul writes about this quite a bit, and especially to his letters to the Corinthians, where he's both the first and second Corinthians are talking to the believers there, saying, hey, you know what? You need to shape up. You need to live like you believe what you say you believe, right? And he writes in his first letter, or at least the first letter that we have, in 1 Corinthians 3:16, don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in your midst? He's talking about believers. Not talking about the temple in Jerusalem, which was still standing at that point. And then again, he writes in his next letter, 2 Corinthians 6:16, what agreement is there between the temple of God and idols? For we are the temple of the living God. As God has said, I will live with them and walk with them, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. So the saints and sanctuaries issue is examining that. It's examining the impact that those people and places have on the world around them, as well as how they intersect. So, what is my favorite piece in the saints and sanctuary issues? I have never said this before. I love the pieces that come in, and I don't know that I would have been able ever to pick a favorite piece out of an issue. But I have to say that I do have a favorite piece in this issue, and that is Saints, Suffering, and Sanctuaries from Around the World, Japan, Korea, and China by my friend Seth Meyers. And there's a couple of reasons why this is my favorite piece. And the first is that I think that sometimes in the US, we get kind of a self-centered focus about what we think that our faith is. And sometimes I think we come off with an attitude like Christianity originated with us and we have the final word, which, that's nothing could be further from the truth. But sometimes we act like that. And I think sometimes we forget that our experience as Christians in the United States is very, very different from our fellow Christians around the world. And I think it's important that we remember that when we say that, we talk about having faith, and, I see people who think that they're being persecuted for their faith just because health officials are asking them to worship a little bit differently so we don't continually have super spreader events and people end up dead. That's not persecution. That's just caring for your neighbor, which we're supposed to do. And I could talk a lot about that, but I'm not going to do that today. The other thing is that, we have in the past had such a strong separation between church and state. Ironically, it's pretty much the Christians that seem like they're trying to destroy that, which is a really scary thing because obviously we don't remember our history. But regardless, because of that, we've had it pretty easy here in the United States. And just because somebody unfriends you on Facebook because you said something that they don't like doesn't mean you're suffering for your faith. There are people from the beginning of Christianity who have been tortured and killed for their faith. They have literally suffered physical suffering, torture. There are people who have literally given it their all. Dietrich Bonhoeffer talked about cheap grace, and I think that we in the US have a cheap faith sometimes. So this essay by Seth, he spotlights believers in those countries, and I think it's a good reminder. The second reason why I really love this piece is because I was one of the editors on this essay, and as I was reading it, he kept quoting from this book, It's actually Jesus in Beijing by David Aikman. And there were so many great quotes in there. I literally stopped halfway through editing and I had to go and order this book because I haven't read it yet, but I did get it. And just from Seth's quotes in his essay, this sounds amazing. So that's another reason Seth's piece is my favorite in this issue. But you'll have to read the pieces and let me know what you think if you have a favorite. So where can you get a copy of the journal? Now, the journal is launching online on March 9th, and you can read the individual pieces there. It's open access. We make everything free and open to the public, and all of the production and everything takes work. If you'd like to support our work, you can buy a copy, either digital or print, or if you'd like to donate and support the journal, you can do that too. There's links at the journal where you can click to donate. However, if you'd like a physical copy of the journal, you can go pretty much anywhere online and buy a physical copy. Now, right now, the pre-order is available in the digital format on Amazon. It's live on Barnes & Noble. Just to be honest with you, as of right now, we had some issues with the content review on Amazon. It was just this weird thing. It was just really bizarre, but regardless, it still hasn't come out of that yet. We were told that it passed and it would be showing up, but it still hasn't, and it's still showing as a review on my dashboard on Amazon. At some point, hopefully soon, the print and hardcover versions will be available on Amazon, but they are available on Barnes & Noble. So, and then also we distribute it to a ton of different digital platforms like Apple and Google Books and Kobo. There's a ton of them. So you can get digital books there. And also, if you would like to check it out through your library, you can do us a favor and request the journal at your library, and that helps us out. But if you really like the journal and you want to get a copy of every issue, then I highly suggest you go ahead and subscribe, because that is the absolute best deal. So when you subscribe to the print version, you also get the digital version thrown in as well. So anyway, those are the options. You can read it online and the individual pieces when it comes out on March 9th, or you can get a paperback, hardcover, or a digital version. So anyway, I hope you check it out. Let me know what your favorite piece is. And then finally, we are going to be having another live launch party on Saturday, March 19th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Central, and we have different panels for contributors that they come on and they talk about their pieces. So that's really fun. Like, if you have any questions or comments or feedback for any of these authors, we'd love if you could just stop by and say hi. We have great giveaways, so you don't want to miss it. But anyway, that is An Unexpected Journal, Saints and Sanctuary issue. And oh, I forgot to mention, yeah, the cover. This is another amazing cover by our friend Virginia de la Lastra. You can actually follow her work on Instagram, so I will link to that so you can see what else that she's doing. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, and be sure to put the launch party on March 19th on your calendar. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.